Outdoors, all right, okay.
What do I do?
I guess just chatter interview. Select chatter interview. That's what it would be.
Go live?
Yep.
Am I live now, Connor?
Mm-hmm. Then I can type this in.
Well, I think I'm live, folks. I got my IT guy here trying to figure out what's going on here. All right. Well, Leo, have Julie bring me a glass of water. I'm going live here. I just want to introduce myself, first of all. My name is David Beatrice. I made a post a couple of weeks ago when I was at a party, and I saw this story initially, and I'm live here now. So I'm live on my firm's page. I'm live here. I'm live on Instagram. Since then, I've learned a lot, but I still have many questions, and I'm going to let some of you come in that want to come in and ask questions. But let me get through some things first. I'm 39 years a trial lawyer. I have tried cases in federal court and in state court, municipal courts, county courts. I've had hung juries. I've had acquittals. I've won in federal court. I've won in state court. I've had hung juries. First thing I want to clear up is how you pronounce his last name. Mangione. Now, everyone wants to say Mangione. That's the first thing, because someone's name is so important to them. So Mangione is how his lawyer pronounced it, okay? And there's four things that could be done here. One is, could he be guilty? Yes, he could be guilty. But right now, he's presumed to be innocent. Could he have acted alone? Yes. Could he be a fall guy and been set up? Yes. Could he have been accomplice with someone? Yes. But in all my years of practicing law, and I watched Timothy McVeigh, who did the largest domestic terrorism act in the history of the United States, his perp walk wasn't as bad as Luigi Mangione's perp walk. Now, let me tell you a little something about his attorney. I call her the Lamborghini of lawyers. Now, some people have criticized me. I like the alliteration of it. Lawyer Lamborghini. And trial lawyers think in picture words, okay? So if I said, oh, she's a good lawyer, you go, oh. If I say she's the Lamborghini of lawyers, that puts a different picture of your mind. Her name is pronounced Karen Friedman Agnifilo. Now, how do I know her? I've been following her for years. She has a podcast called Legal AF with Michael Popak and the Mycelis brothers and the Midas Touch Network. So I've been watching her for years. She is fearless, and she will speak truth to power. She has 30 years of experience in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. So let me go over some of the questions I get asked, and then I'll invite some of you in. The number one question I am asked: how can he be charged in both places? And is that legal? Yes. Yes, he can be charged both in New York State and the federal government. And why is that? Well, the answer to that is simple. We are 50 sovereign states united under a federal government. So the federal government is considered to be a separate sovereign, and every state is considered to be a separate sovereign. And you really can go back to 1922 when the United States Supreme Court, and they've reaffirmed it since then, said that two different sovereignties can bring it. Now, the New York State, Alvin Bragg brought this under a terrorism section under New York law because the state of New York outlawed the death penalty in 2004. However, the federal government has no ban on the death penalty. So we'll have to wait and see what the federal government does. The next big question I'm asked is, why no bail? The Eighth Amendment to the United States Constitution says no cruel and unusual punishment and no excessive bail shall be required. Now, our United States Supreme Court, in their infinite wisdom, has said just because you can't set an unreasonable bail doesn't mean you're entitled to a bail. Now, under the federal government, they have a statute, 18 United States Code 1342. Let me tell everyone, Luigi Mangione is not getting out of jail pre-trial. That's just not happening. It's just not happening. Now, many people are saying, so there's four things here. Luigi could be guilty. He could be not guilty. He could be part of a conspiracy, or he could be a fall guy. Now, if he's part of a conspiracy, most states and the federal government have what's called complicity. So if you are, let me give you an example. You drive the getaway car. Someone says, I'm going to go in and rob a grocery store. They go in and rob a grocery store, and while they're in the grocery store, they shoot someone. The person driving the car is as guilty as the person that shot them. A lot of you are asking me about jury nullification. Is that a thing? Yeah, that's a thing. That happens all the time. But most judges will never, ever, ever allow you to argue that directly. So you have to nuance it. I can only tell you from my experience what has happened to me. I had a client charged with complicity to commit murder. When I tell people you never know what a jury's going to do, you don't. Any trial lawyer or these jury consultants that come in, look, when you're picking a jury, I love these jury consultants. I love consultants. I really call them insultants, but consultants are a tool to be used. But ultimately, it comes down to your gut, to what you feel, to what you see, okay? I had a client one time on a complicity to commit a murder charge who gave a videotape confession, and the jury found him not guilty. So juries can do whatever juries want to do, but judges will usually never allow you to say, well, ignore the evidence, find my client not guilty. There's nuanced ways to do jury nullification. Okay, so let's just examine now what evidence, because the New York Police Department and the federal government, they've done the worst perp walk in history. And now they're saying he's guilty. And so let's go over what they've released, okay? Because things in this case for me, and look, I could be wrong. I've been wrong a lot of times. The guy that I got off on the murder charge that gave the videotaped confession, I told him to take the plea bargain and he didn't, and I won it. I had another murder case where in the second day of trial, the prosecutor came up and offered me 5 years. I told my client to take it. He said, we're winning. And I said, well, they wouldn't be offering us 5 years if we weren't winning. And everyone thought I won the case except the 12 people in the jury. That's the beauty of our system, is that 12 people have to, a citizen's jury, have to listen to all the evidence, okay, and then render a verdict unanimously. It's a beautiful system, okay? I want to say a couple other things. People call this a righteous kill. I can't buy into that. Look, politics shouldn't come into this, but if any of you want to research what my politics are, where I stand with things, Google me and the New York Times, Google me and the Washington Post, Google me and CNN, you'll know where my politics lie. But when you get into the arena of battle, and our system is set up to be an arena of battle. In other words, we have an adversarial judicial system where the lawyers are pitted against one another. And the judge, do you know why the judge wears a black robe? The judge wears a black robe as a symbol of objectivity. So the judge is simply a gatekeeper, and he has a thing called the rules of evidence. And he has to follow the rules of evidence as to what comes in as evidence and what doesn't come in as evidence. Karen Friedman Agnifilo, KFA, the Lamborghini of lawyers, she is not afraid to stand up to the government. She's not afraid to speak truth to power. Okay? So it is an arena. It is a battle. It is an adversarial system. And the reason we've designed it as an adversarial system, and I've been doing this 39 years, there's not a case out there I've not tried. Murder cases, RICO cases, child pornography cases, rape cases, child rape cases. I mean, there isn't a crime that I've not tried in court. I've tried so many cases, I can't remember all the cases I've tried. I want to go over now what the government has as evidence, okay? But one other thing I want to talk about. People say, why isn't he getting bail? He's not getting bail. People could throw up $5 million. Luigi Mangione is not getting bail. Under the federal government, got involved in this case, and I'll go over why they got involved. But 18 United States Code 1342 lays it out. He's not getting out of jail. KFA, Karen Friedman Agnifilo, knows this. That's why she's not asking for bail. And everyone's saying, well, you know, P. Diddy's lawyers asked for bail. Yeah, they asked for bail in front of the federal district, the federal magistrate judge, in front of the district judge, and they took it up to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. And guess where P. Diddy's sitting? In jail. And that's where Luigi Mangione is going to sit until his trial happens. So the New York City Police Department think they got their man. The FBI think they got their man. And let's go over what they've released to us. You see, they released bits and pieces, but KFA, the Lamborghini of lawyers, she's going to get everything. But here's what we have, or here's what we know so far. We have a timeline. We have photos alleging to be him. We have a fake ID they caught on him that he used at the hostel in New York City. They have a manifesto, which is pretty damning, to be honest with you. It's pretty tough evidence. It gives him motive. Now, any criminal defense lawyer will tell you that prosecutors never have to prove motive. It's not something they have to do. But if they have motive, they jump all over it like a kitty on a mouse or a cat on a mouse. When they get motive, okay, they love it. They have, now, you see, here's where they go a little overboard. They say they have fingerprints. No. They have smudges of fingerprints allegedly on a water bottle and a candy bar he used or he bought at Starbucks. Now, smudges of fingerprints are good. They're not what they used to be, but fingerprints are good evidence. Okay, I'll be honest with you. But smudges, at some point, it stops being a science and starts being an art. So they have smudges of fingerprints. Here's what else they say they have. They have the weapon resembles the weapon that was used. Notice they use the word resembles. I looked at the weapon from the person that shot, and I look at the weapon that they caught on him, and I haven't physically inspected it, but I won a case in federal court on a silencer case. It was my fastest acquittal ever. And just from a visual inspection, those weapons don't look the same. And they say they have casings that resemble the casings found at the scene. All right, so here's what a casing is. If you are not using a revolver, if you're using like a 9mm or a Glock, so it goes into the bottom of the weapon, and as you fire it, it shoots out the casings. They're saying the casings resemble the casings they found at the scene. Okay? Well, casings can resemble casings. Okay? Here's what we don't know. Here's things we don't know. And here's things that make me go, okay? According to the New York Police Department, Luigi Mangione stalked this CEO. I'd like to know, I'd like to see all the videos of them stalking him. Allegedly, he got into town on November 24th, 2024, and this happened on December 4th. Where are the videos between that 10-day period? I'd like to see those videos. Ballistics. Now, ballistics at a time used to be the gold standard. So ballistics, when the weapon hits the casing, it leaves a distinctive mark. The bullet, as it's traveling out of the barrel, leaves striations on the bullet. And you can look at these under a microscope, and you can make a determination forensically whether that bullet and whether that casing came from that gun. Now, they say they match. They can't do the ballistics that fast. They said that a week ago. The ballistics take a little bit of time and a little bit of analysis. I'd like to know, where's all the video between November 24th, 2024 and December 4th of 2024? Because here's what I think. The person that offed this guy knew his schedule, knew where he was going to be, okay? And they said he only went there on November 24th. But how did he know when he was going to walk in there? So the ballistics become important. You're going to hear a word called gunshot residue. Well, if they have the clothing that he has, when you fire a firearm and it blows back, it leaves residue on your hands and on clothing. So if he has gunshot residue on his clothing, that's another piece of evidence against him. Here's another thing I don't understand about this case. If he wanted to be caught, then why did he leave? Why did he go to Altoona, Pennsylvania? He gets rid of the bag, right? Gets rid of the backpack, keeps the weapon, gets rid of the phone, but keeps the weapon and the manifesto and the fake ID. Now, look, maybe he's just sloppy, or maybe he's being the patsy. We don't know, but what he's entitled to is a presumption of innocence. But if you don't want to be caught, why are you keeping that weapon? That weapon becomes a very powerful tool in a prosecutor's arsenal. If they can match the ballistics up to that weapon, well, that's bad for Luigi. I'll be honest with you. And what's up with the phone they said he got rid of? So he got rid of the phone, he got rid of the bag, and if you're going to believe the NYPD story that he did all this surveillance, then he knew where all these cameras were, okay? And he knew that the camera, when he was doing it, was behind him. If it's to be believed that he's this sophisticated, but there's no shot of the shooter directly on it. And then he walks away and gets on a bike. My experience has been when someone does a rage kind of a thing like that, they don't walk away, they run away. And then he somehow went into Central Park where he knew there would be no cameras. Now, that's either by accident or he specifically knew that there were no cameras there. I don't know that. Here's the most important piece of evidence the FBI and the New York City Police Department can have, and that's DNA. Now, when you touch anything, be my cell phone, be my computer, be my mouse on my computer, the oil on your skin stays on that piece of property. And if they can lift that DNA, so the 2 bullet casings that were there, if they can get the DNA off of that bullet casing and compare it to his DNA, it's over for Luigi. I mean, that means his DNA was on the casings of the bullets that did this to this CEO. And let me just talk a second about our healthcare system. Look, you don't know my politics, but you can find it out. We have subjected our healthcare system to a for-profit center. What does that mean in a capitalistic society? That means a CEO's job is to maximize profits for the shareholders. So if he's doing his job, you don't get to engage in vigilante justice. And a lot of people have sent me messages. A lot of people have sent me comments on this. Look, vigilante justice is anarchy. It doesn't lead to more freedoms and rights for you. And political violence and vigilante justice is never right for this country, ever, ever. It is not the way we do things. And people said, well, when we fought the Revolutionary War, well, we fought the Revolutionary War against King George. Must think that they have a really good case. It's my experience, just my experience, Federal prosecutors, they're not as tough as state prosecutors. I don't care what anyone says. State prosecutors got to take everything. Federal prosecutors got to say, I don't want that case. There's a little bit of a chance of an acquittal. I'm not going to take it. So the federal government must think that there's a really good case here. But let me tell you what they're going to be doing from now until we go to the next phase of this stage. They are going to be doing a ton of DNA analysis. Now, they said he went into a Starbucks and he got a water and a paper wrapper or a candy bar. They're going to get that evidence. Now, if they say that, then there's video evidence of them going to that trash can and taking that evidence out. I've told you people there's 2 terabytes of information. That's a lot of information. There are hundreds of hours of videotape. And you know, police officers and FBI agents, they're not perfect. They can make mistakes. And sometimes, as a defense lawyer, you can find things that they don't find. So as a defense lawyer, you have to literally scour every piece of evidence that they give you. They're going to do ballistics tests. Now, I've said in other posts, there's this test called the Daubert test. And this was in the olden days, and I'm old, you used to be able to bring anyone into court and they could say, I'm an expert and give an opinion. When you go into a trial, we have what's called rules of evidence. Rules of evidence determine whether someone can give an opinion in a court or not. Because ordinarily, only prosecutors and assistant United States attorneys can bring in facts witnesses, people that saw things, heard things, or know things. But an expert can give an opinion. An opinion now has to pass what's called a Daubert test. And not to get too technical on you, but it has to pass the smell test. And sometimes the judge acts as the gatekeeper, right? He lets evidence in and he keeps evidence out. Okay? So right now, these ballistic tests, the DNA, the fingerprinting, that has to all pass the Daubert test. Okay? And I'm telling everyone out there, ballistic tests lately have come under greater scrutiny under the Daubert test than before. They allegedly found his phone. Now, here's what I don't get. He dumps the backpack, he dumps the phone, but he keeps the fake ID that he used at the hostel. He keeps the manifesto, and he keeps the weapon, but he dumps the backpack and the phone. To me, either he's sloppy or it doesn't make reason and common sense. They're going to scour his travels. They said he came from Atlanta. So I'll tell you what the FBI is doing right now. They're going to that Atlanta terminal and they're grabbing those CCTVs and they're grabbing all those things and they're looking at it. They're going to talk to witnesses and they're going to do forensics on the videos. What do I mean by forensics on the videos? I had a client one time that was charged. We used to have a car plant here in the Mahoning Valley. I had a client that was charged with playing Rock'em Sock'em Robots with the cars at the end of the line. And they said they had a video of him going into the plant. I hired a forensic videographer. And so certain things you can measure. So you can measure certain things on that crime scene that are stationary, static. And my videographer measured the turnstile that he went through and then measured the person they said was my client. And my expert said the person going through the turnstile that supposedly used my client's card was in fact 4 inches taller than my client. And I was able to successfully do that for the client. So where are we in the case now? We're in what's called the discovery phase. What is discovery? Very simple. The government has to turn over everything to KFA, the Lamborghini lawyer. Anything they have to turn over to her. And they said they had 2 terabytes of information. I have a murder case presently that has 1 terabyte of information. And I'm daunted by that. I can't imagine 2 terabytes. So they have hundreds and hundreds of hours of CCTV. If the public only knew how much you were in videos and on videos every day, you would be shocked. And you see this phone? Oh my gosh. What the government can do with that phone. We're not like the European Union. They enacted much more strict privacy rules. There's data miners, and this thing's a honing beacon. I'm telling you, they can triangulate the calls. They could tell you who they called. So they're going to be scouring everything, and this is an ongoing process. This doesn't stop, okay? Once we go from the discovery phase, we go into what's called the motion phase of the case. Now, if they find DNA, if they find Luigi Mangioni's DNA on those bullet casings that were left at the crime scene, well, that's the only thing you're going to attack then is there cross-contamination? Can they pass the Daubert test? There's still things you can do as a lawyer, but that's pretty tough evidence. DNA, I mean, it's just it's like a heart shot if you're going hunting. If there's no cross-contamination, the odds are like 1 in a trillion. The chances of this being someone else's DNA is every Homo sapien that's ever been born in this country or in this world. And that's how sophisticated it comes. But it takes a while to do DNA fingerprinting. Now, I listened to the main prosecutor in the state case saying, yeah, we're lead on this. Only if the federal government lets you be lead on this. Okay? Only if the federal government lets you be lead on this. The federal government's filed what's called a complaint. It's right here. Sealed complaint. Okay? And their theory of the case, if you read it, I agree with Karen Friedman Agnifilo, is a little different than the state prosecutors. Okay? And then the judge, so when you get indicted, when you have a complaint federally, not an indictment, a complaint, you then go in front of what's called a magistrate judge. And a magistrate judge reads you the complaint, unless you waive the reading of the complaint. They set it for what's called a preliminary hearing, okay? And then they set it for a detention hearing. Now, under 18 United States Code 1342, I know everyone's upset about this. He's not getting out. That's just not happening. Luigi Mangione is going to stay in jail until he has his trials or until they get so much evidence that you cry uncle, or in MMA, you tap out. But we're not there yet. We're not quite there yet. You know, they released the evidence that they wanted you to see. I'll bet there's evidence there that exonerates him that they haven't released to the public. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm full of crap. But there's just so many things that don't add up in this case for me that it's really making me go, Now, either this guy is, you know, he seems intelligent, right? Luigi Mangione seems like a very intelligent man. People have been commenting on the timeline. But then if you listen to the New York City Police Department, they said he hopped on a subway and that's how he moved as fast as he did. But the killer, here's what kills me in this case. Whoever did this in this case, they wanted you to see that backpack. And they knew that camera was behind them. You're right? Like, what's the purpose of wearing that backpack? It's so distinctive. And either he was sloppy, and he could be, you know, people make mistakes. There's no perfect crime. So either but whoever that was wanted you to see that backpack because it's very distinctive. Other than that, it's just black clothing, right? And then they have him coming out of Central Park without the backpack. And allegedly they find the backpack in Central Park where there happens to be no cameras. So if Luigi was staking out this place that much and casing the place that much and planning it this much, there has to be video of him doing it this much. There just has to be. So the federal magistrate judge in this case is a judge by the name of Catherine Parker, and she told the government, and it is the government's obligation under Brady versus United States, to turn everything over to the defense attorneys. We no longer have trial by ambush in this country. Okay, and likewise, Karen Friedman Agnifilo has to turn over everything she plans on introducing in the court. Now, it's not just everything the government plans on introducing. It's everything the government's collected. I want to tell you people out there, there's nuggets sometimes because what I found police officers to do is they got their suspect, they zero in on him, and then they get tunnel vision. And sometimes there's things that come in that just don't add up. A lot of people were commenting, oh, the face doesn't look the same. Well, you can forensically enhance those pictures and you can take measurements of eye space, lip space, nose space. And I'm sure Karen Friedman Agnifilo and her team are doing everything. Now, her husband is representing Sean Combs, also known as P. Diddy. And I'm going to do an update on the P. Diddy case. They did him on a RICO. I hate RICOs. The prosecutors and the AUSAs love RICOs. No defense attorney likes RICOs. And I'll tell you why in a separate thing. And then the state of New York has actually indicted him. Now, just because you are indicted and just because there is a complaint, that means nothing in a court of law. And so we're in the discovery phase of this case. Karen Friedman Agnifilo has to comb through all this discovery. If they have any evidence that exonerates him, they have to give that to her. I'm going to be looking for the DNA analysis. I'm going to be looking for the ballistics analysis. The manifesto, it's a pretty damning piece of evidence. But if he wasn't in possession of the weapon that was used, you got to ask yourself, well, why would he be in possession of a weapon he didn't use? And they got to find who made the fake ID. Now, it's been my experience that when someone makes a fake ID, they make a lot of fake IDs. They just don't make an individual fake ID. So they'll make 5 fake IDs and sell them to people. So there's a lot of discovery. There's a lot of investigation to be done. And everyone should give Luigi Mangione his presumption of innocence. That's what we fought a Revolutionary War for. That's what's in our Bill of Rights. Okay? And so now if anyone wants to join in, I'll let you join in and ask me questions directly. All right. If they find evidence that exonerates them, what happens then? They have to turn it over to Karen Friedman Agnifilo. If they find evidence that exonerates Luigi, they have an obligation to turn it over to her. So I have a lot of my people asking me a question here. So people ask me, do I think it's a team of people? I don't know that. They have not released enough of that to tell us that. But in most states and in Ohio and in Florida, because I'm licensed in Ohio, I'm licensed in Florida, and I'm licensed in Pennsylvania. Florida calls it an accessory after the fact. Ohio calls it complicity. The federal government calls it something else. I'm sure New York has it. If you are involved and have knowledge of what the principal's going to do, you are as guilty as the principal. All right, so now I'm going to go to some of the questions. Any of you want to join in? I'll let you click in. So if you want to click in, I'll let you click in. Why haven't they mentioned, what's this question? Why haven't they mentioned the shooter on the phone prior? Well, they're going to scour that phone. I assure you. They're saying he used the phone. So they're going to scour that phone. Here's what I find funny. That guy's picture was plastered everywhere. His mother knew he was missing. Allegedly, his mother called the New York Police Department, and they don't put out and say, hey, this guy's name's Luigi Mangione? I don't know. I'm just not buying it. All right. What are some of these other questions? Why is there no video of the arrest and proof that they found evidence on him? Well, I don't know if the Altoona Police Department has body cams. Most police departments now require that their police officers have body cams. We don't know if that's there or not. Okay? Can someone dial in? Yeah, you can. How do I get this? How do I let people in here? If someone could tell me I can let people in here, I'll let people in here to ask questions. Allie, if you're out there, if you could tell me how to let people in, I'll let people join in and ask questions. Time of the two jurisdictions contradict one another. Could this be inconsistencies? Look, the burden of proof is on the government. You know what a defendant's obligation is in a criminal case? To show up in court. That's his only obligation. Other than that, there's no obligation on Luigi to do anything. What's this question here? Well, we all know the New York Police Department abuses their body cams. Look, here's what I want to say about police departments and the FBI. Are there bad FBI agents? Yeah. Are there bad cops? Yeah. But for the most part, in my 39 years, I got to be honest with you, most of them are trying to do a good job. So I'm not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. If there's dirty cops and dirty FBI agents, when you put them in court and you cross-examine them, okay, sometimes the truth comes out. One of the things I was telling people about was the silencer case I won. And it was an amazing case. Let me tell you about it. I had a guy, his name was Brent C., and the government charged him with making silencers. And he had a prior conviction. I had pled him the year before for making silencers. And then someone said he's making them again. And the ATF raided him, and they took these things, and they looked ominous. And he said they were muzzle brakes. And that's when I found out that the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms has 5 guys. 5. There might be some women there. And something gets sent to them, and they say, yeah, that's a firearm under federal law, and therefore it's a firearm under federal law. Silencers are considered firearms under federal law. They looked at what my client had and said it was a silencer. I hired an expert witness who said it was a suppressor. I'm not a suppressor, a muzzle brake. And the jury bought my theory of the argument. So you never know what a jury's going to do. All right. So I have my media director here. During the live, tap guest at the bottom 2. What does this mean? All right, come on over here, Connor. What does this mean? How do I let some people in here? Over here, what do I do here? What do I do here?
Give me 1 second.
People want to come in. So some people want to come in. Did the hostile worker positively ID him? Let me talk to you about eyewitness identification. It is over-relied on by juries, okay, and it is the worst testimony in court. Any trial lawyer worth his salt will tell you juries over-rely on eyewitness identification, okay, and you just can't rely on it. All right, let me see. New followers. Let me see. Total viewers. Let's see. These people want to come in. How do I do this, Connor? You know what I'm doing here? Connor doesn't know what he's doing. I got my IT guy here. If someone could tell me out there or put it in there how you can join Free Luigi. Well, Luigi is not getting out. And if he did this, people shouldn't be celebrating it. That's vigilante justice. I'm kind of liberal, to be honest with you, but we can't have vigilante justice in this country. We just can't have it. All right. I don't know. My media director's telling me. How do I add people here? Total viewers, others. Let me see here. New followers. I'd love to know how people would love. Okay, except someone wanted to come in. All right, so you are in with me now. I let this person in with me now. Hello, are you there? I let you in. Are you there? Can you see me? Hello? Hello? All right, let's see here. All right, accept. 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 Hold on, let me accept these people. All right. All right. Accept. That's enough right now. And let's go back to the screen. All right. So I really don't know what I'm doing here. All right. So Connor.
What's the manifesto being?
Well, Connor, how do I get myself back on this screen? Was the manifesto handwritten? They're saying it was handwritten, but we don't know that for sure. The government is saying it was handwritten and it was caught on him. So that's what the government's saying. Who has another question that I let in? I let a lot of people in here. All right. I can't see all these people.
Hi.
Hi. What's your question?
Thank you, David. I feel like I'm back to, listening to my criminal professor.
Oh, that's good. What's your question?
So the fact that his mother identified him as possibly his son, obviously that is going to be his child, correct?
See, to me, the police get a credible tip and a picture from his mother saying this is him, and they don't put that out. I'm suspect of that. That's all. I mean, I'm just suspect of it. It could be that she was right, but if they knew who he was, why wouldn't they put his proper name out there, is all I'm saying. Okay? The police I have found, and the FBI, when they get someone in their sights, they get tunnel vision, and they're just building a case against him. Does anyone else have a question here? Oh, the echo is bad. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. All right. Let's see here. All right. All right. So we're inviting more people in. How do I? Okay. I'm sorry. I'm new at this, folks. So let me try
I'll
to.
get down so that you can find other people, okay? Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. So who else has a question?
May I ask a question?
Go ahead. What's your question?
Yes. First, I'm from Europe.
Yeah.
I'm from Europe, and I need something to understand. How is it possible that for one, let's say, one act, you got multiple charges of murder, for example?
So we're the United States of America. So each state in our system is considered a separate sovereignty. So where are you from in Europe? You there? So,
In fact, I'm from Germany. I live in Greece.
all right. So Greece is considered a separate country from France. And that's how you should look at the United States. Ohio is a different state than Pennsylvania, separate sovereignties. Now we're all under this umbrella of the United States Constitution. But the federal government is a separate sovereignty from each state. So the federal government can charge him and the state can charge him. And that's how that works.
But the thing is, he's got multiple charges in New York of murder by the second degree.
Right. Well, here's what happens. You could be found guilty of first degree murder, second degree murder. They often stack the charges in an indictment, and the jury can find you guilty of each one. that doesn't mean you're going to get sentenced on each one. So if the jury finds him guilty of first-degree murder, the jury instructions will probably say you cannot go now and consider second-degree murder. You only start to consider second-degree murder if you find him not guilty of first-degree murder. So it moves down that. So when you're charged with an indictment, and I have the indictment on the floor there, that's nothing more than a piece of paper. And the judge tells them, the jury, this is a piece of paper. The burden of proof's on the government. They got to prove everything they said in this paper beyond a reasonable doubt. If you have any reasonable doubt in your mind, then you got to acquit him. So you start with the most serious charges and then you work your way down. And that's how it works. Does anyone else have any other questions? All right, let me just grab some of these. Hold on, let me see here.
Trying to do one at a time.
Okay. When you are charged with first-degree murder and 2 counts of second-degree murder. Okay, why isn't it double jeopardy? I've covered this. All right, Connor, you're going to have to come over here and get me back on the screen here. I don't know how I get back on the screen. All right, when you are charged with, it's not double jeopardy because it is 2 separate sovereignties. The United States government is considered separate from the state of New York. Now, it's not usual that the government does this, but they can do it. And in this case, they did it. And it was the worst perp walk I've ever seen in my life. It was the worst perp walk I ever. All right, hold on a second. Let me see here. I'm trying to figure something out here. See, I'm on my computer. Expand. Okay, there we go. All right, invite. All right. So who else wants to come in here? Does anyone else have any other questions here? Oh, a lot of people want to come in. Okay. All right. I'm inviting more people in. I don't know where Connor went. He's my IT guy. He knows how to do this much better than me. Connor, how do I get myself back on this screen here? Okay. All right. Let me ask some of these questions. If he's presumed innocent and his only responsibility, why wasn't bail allowed? This is a big question I get asked. The United States Supreme Court has ruled that the 8th Amendment to the United States Constitution says, I don't see myself here, Connor. The United States Constitution, 8th Amendment, says that no unreasonable bond shall be permitted. Okay? I don't know. I'm violating some guidelines here. I don't know what. I'm just trying to give people information. The 8th Amendment of the United States Constitution says that you're entitled, that the government shall give you no unreasonable bond. The United States Supreme Court said just because you're entitled to bond doesn't mean you get a bond, and that's how they ruled. And so that's really what it's like. All right. Good. What questions do we have?
Right. You know what? The question I have, I think they got the wrong guy.
You think they have the wrong guy?
They got the wrong man.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they might have the wrong guy. Look, the burden of proof is on the government to prove him guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. So he doesn't have a burden of proof. Only the government has a burden of proof. Unless he's going to use...
I don't think the government got a burden of proof neither. The only one have a burden of proof is God.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Once they got somebody, they got somebody. They plant anything for you. That how the laws work.
I understand what you're saying, okay? But in this country, we cannot have vigilante justice. Vigilante justice is an antithesis of what we are as a country. And the government cracks down on people that engage in vigilante justice. So I have my IT guy here. They're sending me notices. What am I supposed to do here now?
But I watch and listen to this whole thing, and I don't understand how them could find a bag and a coat in the woods, but still find you with a bag of coat. It don't make sense.
So they have to prove their case. The government has to prove what they're saying beyond a reasonable doubt. What does reasonable doubt means? It means that you'd be willing to, oh, we're trying to reconnect now. All right. The reasonable doubt means you're willing to rely on the most important of your life's decisions. So say, for instance, getting married. That's a really important life decision, okay? That's how convinced you have to be that he's guilty, okay? There's no righteous making the government, nor should any American allow vigilante justice. That leads to less rights, not more. All right, here's a question from Florida. Does he get the post we send to police and FBI? Read it first. If you send him any jail mail, they're reading it. I can assure you of that. The government is doing a terrible job regarding in New York. Well, we don't know if the government's doing a terrible job. We know what they've released to us. We got to see if they have the goods to prove him guilty. We have to see that. We just don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we just don't know it yet.
And my next question is how to get a photo that fast for this guy, and he was masked up. It don't make no sense.
Okay.
It could be a black man in them. It could be a black man doing it. You don't. It could be a Chinese man. It could be a man from Russia. You don't know. It could be a hitman. You don't know.
Well, here's what I want to say. What's your name, sir?
Ricky.
Ricky. Okay. So, Ricky, I'm going to disconnect you and answer your question. The answer to your question, Ricky, is you can enhance those photos. They have CCTV all over New York. You'd be surprised how much you are on TV. You'd be surprised how many times you're on camera, no matter where you go. All right, Connor, I can't see myself right now. You are not eligible. I don't know what this means because it contains unoriginal. I don't know what this means. What are they?
It's just saying that you're not monetized. You're fine.
Okay, I'm not trying to make money off of this. I'm just trying to educate people.
Okay.
All right. So I'm trying to go through some of the. Connor, make David. Here, wait a minute. Connor, make David the big box. What does that mean?
I'm working on it.
He's working on it. Connor's working on it. All right. How do we make me the big box? Expand. Well. Oh, they're in there now. I can see myself now. Can everyone see me now? There. We're there. Okay. Boomers on the internet. That's the truth, man. Connor, please get Magnolia off. I don't know who Magnolia off. Looks good. All right. David and Connor, please make. I can't help you all. I'm on and work at other lives. All right. Great job, Connor. Connor is the best. Connor just graduated high school, and we got big trials coming up here. He's done great jobs for me with my PowerPoints. When you see me do my PowerPoints, that's all Connor's work. All right. What is this? I can't hear anything. Why can't people hear anything? I don't know why you can't hear me. You should be able to hear me. When the government wait a minute, what's this question now? When the government violates his constitutional right, perp walk, is there a consequence? Probably not. I mean, Karen's making a record. Karen Friedman Agnifilo is making a record. Okay. CC Casey, you have a couple questions. What are your questions? How can I invite you on? How can I invite you on? I don't know. All right. Does he get the post? All right. I'm trying to release that. All right. I invited someone in, and so people ask me questions, and I'll try to answer them. Do you know when his next trial will be? Well, when the federal government indicts him, he'll have 75 days until the trial. And then, Karen will probably waive that. It's not enough time for her to get everything together because they have hordes of police agents and FBI agents working on that. Does he get visits? Yes, he does. Much better. Thank you, Connor, they're saying. I quit the live because it wasn't allowing me to talk. I have no static. What happened to the main witness on the insider trading case? Dies. People keep saying Nancy Pelosi has something to do with this. I don't know if she does. Listen, I'm going to try to increase this better next time. Follow my firm. It's Beatrice Kopp on Instagram. I have an Instagram page. I'm going to be doing some stuff on P. Diddy and talking to you about RICO and how bad it is. But right now, this is about over, and I did everything I could. I'll keep everyone updated. Just stay tuned to my page. Thank you very much.